Thermomix Adventures. My name is Lisa Keegan, and today I'm going to show you how easy it is to use something from your pantry to create something amazing. Now, there's power in having a well-stocked pantry, and if you wanted a pantry staples list, head over to my website, thermixingadventures.com.au, sign up over there as a subscriber, and you'll actually get to your email account a pantry staples list. Now, even if you're gluten-free, this is for you because it's got those in there as well. We are predominantly gluten-free here, and I'm going to make today's scones gluten-free. Now, being gluten-free doesn't mean that you actually have to spend more money on groceries. It does mean a little bit more, but it doesn't mean exorbitant, especially if you make it yourself. Different if you're going to go buy that loaf of gluten-free bread, but if you've got the pantry stock to be able to make it, it is cheap, it is easy, and I've got things to help you with that down the track. So today though, with this well-stocked pantry, we're going to make lemonade scones. Now, these are amazing. These I've been waiting for Cookie Doo to have on here for a very long time because these are the ones I remember before I had a Thermomix, which were the easiest way to make scones, right? Just a handful of ingredients. And finally, they're here. They've only just landed a few weeks ago, so that's pretty cool. 3 ingredients is all you need. You need flour, you need lemonade, and you need cream, full cream, preferably, but you know what? If you can only get thickened cream, that'll do the job. I'm experimenting. I'm going to try gluten-free flour. Now, the other thing I do need is this recipe calls for self-raising flour. I don't buy self-raising. I use plain flour, whether it be gluten-free or glutinous, for everything, and I transform it using baking powder, the magic ingredient. So I'm going to show you how to do that today as well. So there's lots of takeaways and tips. But let me tell you, the difference between a well-stocked pantry and actually what you can make can be the difference of $100. So what I did this week for these recipes I'm making for you, and the meal plan I've even put up, is I originally put them all into Cookie Doo and I created how much that was going to be at my local Woolworths Click and Collect, because that's the integration Cookie Doo has. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, reach out, let's chat, and I'll introduce you to how that works. But I put that in, it was about $400. $400 for 15 things, because we eat 2 main meals a day and a snack, okay? And there's 6 of us, just put reference to that. So it's going to cost me $400 for everything this week. Now, when I then took out my pantry items, so the things I already had, herbs, spices, flours, baking powder, all that stuff that's in my pantry, it came down to less than $100. When I then took out the meat products, and you'll see this week the last one this week that I'm going to show you is actually the most amazing mac and cheese, but it's vegan. So it's got no cheese and it's cheap. It's amazing. But when I then took out the 3 meat products from the list, it actually came down to just over $30. $30 is all I have to spend this week on groceries to make 15 recipes to feed my family. Obviously, on top of that, we've got fruit and things like that. Veggies were included. Anything I needed in the recipes was included. But if you've got a well-stocked pantry, you have power there. Okay, so our grandparents had it right when they always had a well-stocked pantry. Oh, and the other thing is that cold thing like this here was something I would have to buy. Okay, you do have a long life version, but this is one thing out of the recipe I had to buy. And the lemonade. Okay, now I made lemonade. Lemonade is on your Cookie Doo. It is amazing. It is 3 ingredients: lemon, soda water. Okay, you can just use straight water as well, but we like a little bit of bubble in ours, and sugar. So easy, and it takes like 3 seconds. So if you've not tried that, do try it. So I've just made a batch for the kids. I've secured my 130 grams I need here. And let's get cooking. So, start. Oh, missed the start button. My fingers are cold. When my fingers are cold, it doesn't like to play. Okay, preheat the oven. You need a hot oven, okay? Lightly sprinkle some on a baking tray. I'm going to do that later. All right, first things first is self-raising flour. So I've got my plain, I've got gluten-free, which means mine's going to be a little bit flakier than yours. Yours is going to come together really well. Mine's going to be quite airy. I find they're a bit more pastry-like, if anything, but that's okay. My kids still love it and eat it. They are a little bit harder to work with because they're a little bit more crumbly, but that's okay. I'm going to show you how it's done. If you are gluten-free, come watch along. Whoopsie daisy, that's a little heavy, but you know what the beauty of cooking with the Thermomix is the Thermomix is super generous with you. It doesn't really matter. Now, for every 100 grams of plain flour, you need a teaspoon of baking powder or baker's powder, okay? Not bicarb of soda, not soda. We're talking about the baking powder, okay? You can make this yourself. If you are gluten-free, make sure that you are getting a gluten-free version as well. Now I'm going to, didn't bring a spoon in, I'm just guesstimating, and I need 3 teaspoons worth. Okay, 1, 2, that might have been a bit generous. If you are too generous, it just leaves a little bit of a flavor in there. If I've been known to be too generous, I normally add a bit of vanilla just to cover it over a little bit. All right, so that's my 3 teaspoons of that. Thickened cream, okay? Go for pure if you can. If you don't have that, you know, work with what you've got. Have done this before as well with coconut cream. It does need to be a proper coconut cream though. If you do one that's got the thickening in it, I find it doesn't come together nicely at all. So there we go. Next up, we've got our lemonade, and can you believe this will be done in no time? Just reset those scales back. 130 grams. I did kind of pre-weigh this one out because the kids were busting to have some. They couldn't get it quick enough. My 7-year-old asked for a soda stream for his birthday. So that has been, I mean, soda water itself, I didn't put extra. Soda water itself is actually not that expensive to buy. Like, it can be less than $1 to buy that bottle. But yeah, so again, this is not an expensive recipe. Hence the reason it's on this week's list. Salt, forgot to bring it in. You do really need it, actually. No, I did forget to bring it in. The reason you need salt when it comes to balancing flavor is because flour tastes like flour, okay? Which is not pleasant, if you can tell from my face. So you need some sort of thing in there. It does 2 things. It lifts the sweetness because it offsets it, but it also cuts through the flavor of the flour. Pretend I've got it in there. My family are going to raise eyebrows at me when I serve this to them, but that's okay. We'll deal with that. On with the measuring cup. I don't think I've got any. Oh, I do. Oh, happy days. Pause for 1 second. Let's get some salt in there. It's actually bubbling already in there. I can see the bubbles happening. All right, it's been quite wet the last little while. That's quite sticky, that. Anyway, let's put the lid on. And now we're going to knead it for 15 seconds. While that's kneading, I'm going to flour up my Thermomat. If you haven't got a Thermomat, let's do a demo and get you one. This is actually an oven mat. This is my original. This is about 6 years old. You can see it's been well loved, but it's still perfectly usable. Like, it's great. Even though it's different colored, it's perfect for what it needs to do. Now, I may need to scrape this down. Gluten-free flour is very floaty, okay? It's one of those things that it's a bit like, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, you won't need to. Yours will come together if you've got normal plain flour, but it's a bit like corn flour for those who are not familiar, all right? And it doesn't seem to bind as quickly as other stuff does. So there we go. That's a bit crumbly. I'm going to hit the back arrow after I scrape it down. Oh, it's beautiful underneath though. Now the trick with scones is we don't want to overdo it. If we overdo it, you're going to end up with rock cakes. And a lot of people have made scones once, got rock cakes and given up. Okay, don't give up. I'm going to show you today the trick to it. All right, so I'm going to put this back on that kneading function, which is just going to pull that dough backwards, forwards, and then I'm going to use it on the floured mat, okay? This is an oven mat. The other type you get with a pack for a demo is called a Thermomat. It's a larger mat. So, it's nearly done. I was going to stop it, but it's nearly done. I'd love to know in the chat as you're watching along, have you made these lemonade scones before? Is it something you made maybe before Thermomix days? So easy to make. Here we go. That looks better. So now what we do, quickly upside down, turn the knob on the bottom. If you've got the dough version, yours will probably come out in a bigger dough ball than mine has. Mine is, as I said, a bit tacky. Typical of gluten-free stuff because it doesn't have gluten in it to make it stick and bind together. And stretch. All right. Now this comes. And then all we got to do is push the dough together. So no kneading. Kneading will destroy scones. You will end up with, as I said, rock cakes. They're not very tasty. If you do end up with rock cakes, never fear though. Don't throw them out. Save them, put them in the freezer, or use them straight away. Make them into a crumble for an apple pie or any other pie you want. You know, the type that have crumbles on top. You could do like a berry cobbler, those sorts of things. Tells you what to do. Now it actually has a video. How cool is it the videos are built in? Now I'm sorry that's so dark, some lighting in this place. But it tells you to press out, okay, until approximately 2 centimeters thick. So I need to put some flour on top because mine is way tackier than yours will be. Yours will not be tacky like this. I just know from experience, gluten-free equals tackiness. All right, so 2 centimeters thick, and you will literally, even if it's glutinous, be pressing it together like this. Do grab your edges in. You'll see that the edges are a bit rough. Push them in as you push them down. And the next thing you're going to need once we're 2 centimeters thick is something to cut with. Now, I had dramas today finding this. This took me longer to set up than anything else because we've broken all our glasses in our house. So we have one left, one poor glass that survived the six of us, 4 boys and hubby. So ideally, I could a scone cutter or a glass, okay? And ideally a straight-sided. I was nearly going to use a jar, but then I ended up deciding that it probably wasn't the best idea because it's got the ridges to put the lid on. And I thought, oh, that's just going to make a mess, especially being gluten-free. All right, I am about probably a little less, what's it called? Less than 2 centimeters, but that'll do. Now, you do want to flour this. I can't fit mine in my thing to flour, so I'm just going to have to work with that. However, it's wet. Thanks, kids. I think they washed it out for me and they missed the drying memo. Let's get rid of that water. That's not what we want. So, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'll put that in there. It'll capture the water on the way down. All right, so all we're going to do is now that we've got this pressed out is we're going to go around the edges and we're going to push down. Try not to wiggle. Wiggle will create a dough that does this, and then your fluffiness when it comes out the oven will do this. So out it comes, and look at that. Oh, you guys can't see. Let's do this corner. How cool is that? There's one. I am so impressed. This has come together beautifully. So I'm just going to do that. You can see because it's not a proper scone cutter. My nana had a scone cutter. Does anyone else remember doing scones and cream and jam? Always loved them, but they always left me with a bellyache. But I love the fact that gluten-free does not do that. So round they go. Now, by the way, I have found I can't do a traditional scone recipe with just swapping in gluten-free flour. It doesn't come together well with that butter. But this method, amazing, okay? Look at it, amazing. I'm so excited. All right, we're finishing this off. Now, I'm actually using the same mat that I'm working on in the oven later. So I'm going to just try and cut out another one there. That one's going to be a bit of an odd shape. That's all right. It's just got the little sides missing off it. And then what you want to do with this leftover is you want to press it together, okay? So bring it back together. It doesn't go to waste, but again, we're not kneading. Keep it well floured, push it together. You can see how I'm just pushing that back together. Just put those over here. Now your scones, now I've got myself saying it, they want to touch. They like to huddle together on the mat. If you want them to be a bit more soft, put them into an oven tray that actually has sides, and then it forces them up, and it also makes those sides not as crispy. All right, so I'm going to try and get a few more out of this. I think you guys, I'll pull it this way, you guys can see that. Just try and make the top flat is kind of my biggest advice. You will find that these last ones you cut are a little bit more rustic, might be the word. We'll see how that one, the top fell off it because of flour. So I'm just going to push it back on, to be honest. I really don't care. The kids are just going to devour these. We don't have them very often. Lots of time we do the nutrient-dense food as much as possible. But I really want to show you guys today the power of having a well-packed pantry. It was supposed to be power of the pantry, and I'm saying freezer. So, it's so crucial to being able to live frugally and thriftfully with what you've got. Buying things in bulk, and you'll see some tips coming up on my Facebook page and over on my website today about how we do that. But it's so important, and it's so cost effective because it means you can whip up treats, scones, things like that without having to duck down the shops, and it costs you $5, $7 for it, okay? So, and you know what's in it. How cool is that? So I'm going to cut the last ones of these, and then I'm going to go put them in the oven. Now, they do say, I'm fairly certain, well, my nana used to dust with milk. That one's a bit flaky. But let's just have a check. Just want to check. You're a bit sideways. Sorry, guys. It says, use the cookie cutter dipped in flour. Repeat with all the dough. It says makes 8. I've got smaller ones. They go further. So then put them on the tray. Bake for, brush with milk. Yeah, okay. So the brushing with milk gives them a really nice browned top. All right, so that's just finishing them off nicely with a brown top. And then you're good to serve. Warm is best, especially those of you who are GF. Okay, you'll find these will go a bit rice-like, I guess, after a period of time. So if you can re-warm them up before you eat them, definitely something I would recommend doing. Okay, and then enjoy. So I hope you found value in this. I hope this is something you will then confidently go away and do and try. Go over to my website and download, if you'd like it, the pantry essentials list. Okay, grab that, and then it can be your checklist so that you can check that when you want to be tight for a week, you can know that you don't have to go shopping to buy the ingredients for the snacks. It's there, it's ready to go. So that's it from me today, guys. Enjoy this videos, enjoy this week. Let me know if I can answer any of your questions or support you in any way regarding getting a TM6 on your bench if you're in Australia, or maybe it's just actually a question about a recipe or how we do things. I'd love to talk to you about that and answer any questions you have. So otherwise, guys, take care. My name is Lisa Keegan. Thanks for hanging with me today, and I will see you tomorrow for another video.